lot of people would say this is a yearly situation. I don't know if that's quite accurate, but it has for about 3 years. So Carolina Panthers, he's reportedly, Jim Harbaugh, met with them or spoken with them, not necessarily an interview from what I understand. And then the Denver Broncos have inquired and they're interested as well. He's a professional. When you succeed and accomplish, you're going to be wanted and desired. So I don't have an issue with that. Maybe some of the statements he makes, I think he should be a little bit measured in his comments. Like I heard him say, or reported to say, I think I'll be coaching Michigan next year. That's obviously not any kind of a guarantee.
Right. And also, I don't know, like that report is from some like local Charlotte news outlet, right? So to me, I'm like, is Jim Harbaugh really giving an exclusive interview with some local? But honestly, knowing Jim Harbaugh, he doesn't do things by the book or how it usually is. So it's not like he's not calling Scott Van Pelt, to give his thing on SportsCenter SC at night, right? He just he does whatever he wants. And, that's what he's doing right now. And again, I don't fault Jim Harbaugh at all for doing this. It does stink that he said last year, that was the last time. And now it feels like it's doing it again. But ultimately, he deserves the right to explore any opportunities that are given to him. And, if the numbers of $20 million a year are accurate, yeah, I'd probably pick up that phone too. I think I would do just about any job for $20 million a year. So if somebody asked me to coach football in the NFL to do that, I would at least have a conversation, and so I don't know what he's told the players. I think that a lot of these guys, it sounds like, haven't heard a ton from him. And so I think he's doing his thing, went on vacation. He's doing the exact same thing that he did last year, where he takes some time off. He's checking out things. I do believe that he's talked to the Michigan administration as well to get, an extension offer or whatever that is on the table too. And so I expect this to be, I don't expect this to drag on nearly as long as it did last year. And I think that, there's a lot of smoke that is very real, but it feels like it's not quite as real as it was last year. Last year, it was like, all right, he's interviewing. He's really he's flying to Minnesota. He's doing all these things. This year, it feels like some conversations are being had, but ultimately, he seems pretty committed at Michigan. But at the end of the day, maybe that itch of a Super Bowl run is still there, and this really could be the last run at it. And so I don't know. Jim Harbaugh's stock has never been higher. I'm not outside of maybe right after his Super Bowl run. I don't know if it's ever been higher. And so I would play the cards too. I would want to be the highest paid coach in college football, or at least in the Big Ten for sure. I would demand a lot of different things. And it's not only a contract. To me, it's a comprehensive NIL plan from the athletic department. To me, it's, the key to pretty much whatever facilities you want in order to win. And so I think that there are some check boxes that the administration probably needs to check here for Jim Harbaugh. And he's utilizing some leverage from other offers probably to get those things.
Anytime somebody's got to make a life-changing decision, there are the checklist of pros and cons. And then there's just the feel of, what do I ultimately want to do? When I soul search, what do I want to do? I don't think there's any question. The most ardent Michigan critic out there, no way could question this man's love for Michigan. And if somebody asked me, make a list of head coaches in college football and how much they love their university. Now, obviously, I don't know people's hearts and minds, but I would put him at the top. He played for the school. He loves the school, Bo, the whole thing. He is a Michigan man. That doesn't mean you can't have other pursuits, especially considering the run he had at San Francisco that he didn't quite get accomplished as a Super Bowl champion. So you can have a desire to do two things at the same time and just be met with a difficult decision. Just the one thing we know about the NFL is if you don't find the right place, boy, you can get chewed up and spit out, a couple 5 and 12 seasons in Denver, and he might be looking for a job, which he's not going to have an issue finding a job, but still.
Right. But I think you want to think about your legacy, right?
Yes.
And that's where, I wonder, where is his head at right now? Is going to Denver and rebuilding, or going to Carolina rebuilding an entire NFL program to try and get back to a Super Bowl? Is that appealing, or at least more appealing than going for your third Big Ten championship in a row and trying to play for a national title with, a JJ McCarthy coming back, a Donovan Edwards coming back, a possible Blake Corum coming back? Like, I think to me, the situation at Michigan is a lot easier to win at than going to rebuild a program. Now, we all know Jim Harbaugh he goes against the grain a lot. So sometimes I'm like, maybe he doesn't want to take the easy way and just go with Michigan. He wants to go prove to himself and to everyone else that he can go rebuild one more program in the NFL and take them to a Super Bowl. So I don't know. The fun thing about Jim Harbaugh and the stressful thing about Jim Harbaugh for Michigan fans is you never know what he's thinking. Nobody knows. And last year, even the closest people to him didn't know what he was thinking. And it feels like sometimes this year is exactly the same. So ultimately, if I had to, put a prediction on it, I think that he'll be back at Michigan. But I don't know that, because I think he probably is going back and forth in his head right now and wants to see what the situation is. My question is somebody's said to me yesterday, how do you turn down $20 million a year? I'm like, at what point is $10 million a year and $20 million a year different to a multimillionaire already? I feel like the situation to me is more important to a Jim Harbaugh than just a paycheck. It's, where can I win? Where am I comfortable at? Where is my family comfortable at? Where do I have most control? All those things I think factor in more than just the dollar amount on the offer.
Yeah, it's not the difference between 50,000 and 100,000 that's going to change your standard of living. It's
Right.
like your standard of living has to be whatever, pretty much what you want it to be at
There's
10 million. So
there's nothing you can't afford at $10 million
yeah.
compared
So
to
the
20.
the 20 million just means that you look at your investment sheet and it's just twice as much, but
Right.
it's still ridiculous regardless. So that's what that is. It's not improving your standard of living by any stretch. It's just about your, passing on 50 million to your kids or 80 million or whatever. That's the only difference there.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it's definitely more about him taking the job that he wants. And he really has never made it feel that he is a guy that is chasing after a bag of money. He's going after places that are true and dear to his heart. He's going after, obviously a paycheck always comes with it because he's been successful, but I don't think he's just chasing a giant paycheck. Now, I do think there's some ego involved. So I think that there may be something like, I need to be paid more than Mel Tucker is at Michigan State. I need to be paid more than Ryan Day is at Ohio State. I've beat them both. I've put our program to the next level. I think there probably is some things like that where Michigan needs to make him feel valued the way that he should be. So that all is interesting to me, of how those conversations go, because I do know Jim Harbaugh is a bit egotistical because he's Jim Harbaugh too.
Yeah, I've always said the two places I would love to be a fly on the wall would be an NFL draft room, making the selection, and also a coach being interviewed at a major college program or at an NFL stop. I would be fascinated to hear the conversation and the questions back and forth.
Yeah, absolutely. And now he apparently has an agent. I don't know that I can't confirm this by myself, but the word is that he has an agent for the first time in his whole career, which is interesting to me that he's doing that, because it used to be he made his own decisions. He wasn't letting anybody else even be in the room or speak for him or speak on his behalf. So that part is interesting to me. And I wonder, is it to leverage? Is it to, make sure he's in the best situation? I really don't know what that is, what the reason for that is. But, when you're in that room and you're Jim Harbaugh and you're talking about what you think you deserve, let's go back. What was he hired at Michigan for? He was hired to beat Ohio State, win a Big Ten title, and play for a national championship or have national championship hopes. I don't know if winning a national championship can really be that checkbox that you need to check. Is it a goal? Absolutely, at all times. But it's so hard to win a national title. Like
Yes.
I don't know. People are like, he's got to win a natty or bust. That talk is just crazy to me. Alabama doesn't win every year. Clemson doesn't win every year. Georgia doesn't win every year. Like it's to me, I do think the standard can be beating Ohio State and winning a Big Ten title. That can be a checkbox that you like have to check, right? And he's done that. It took longer than probably most people wanted for Michigan fans, but he's done that. But I think that Jim Harbaugh has done exactly what he was hired for, and that is he raised the level of expectations for Michigan from going 8-5 and playing, with Michigan State or playing Ohio State tight every few years. He now has beaten them. He's now won the Big Ten title. He is the top dog in the Big Ten now, and the Michigan program is one of the top 3 to 4 programs in the entire country. That to me is doing your job, and I think he deserves to be paid for that. And I think, that's why I think he's probably like, give me my money, give me my dignity, give me my value here at Michigan. And he deserves to have those conversations.
Because let's understand that just 2 years ago, he was coming off a 2-4 season. Wasn't like first of all, that was a 6-game season.
Yeah.
Like I heard somebody make a comment the other day, they had a horrible year in 2020. Yes, they did, but they played 6 freaking games. There was it wasn't a seat. Well, it was. They technically had a season. There was a national championship, but that was so screwed up that now if he had thrown out a bunch of 5 and 7s and 6 and 6s, and that was a 2-4, then I'd say, well, yeah, that's the pattern. But that is a complete aberration. And he took, he swallowed a bitter pill. And despite he could have said, I'm going 9-3, 10-2 every year. Why do I take a hit for one season, half a season?
Yep.
So I could understand that.
And you also I think too, let's compare him to 95% of other coaches. He's even at 10-3, you're still doing better than a lot of other programs, right? That are being paid pretty well. And so I think that it's the Michigan standard, though, that is the same as the Ohio State standard now, right? Where it's championship or bust, at least for the Big Ten, right? And so 10-3 just for most Michigan fans doesn't cut it. And I think that, he definitely was like, I'm going to swallow this pill. I'm going to change things up, and I'm going to show everybody, including my own administration, what happens here. But when that happens, it better be reversed. You better, the same way that you took things away from me, you better bring it all back and plus some. And so I think that, ultimately, I really do think he's back at Michigan. And let's think about it. If Jim Harbaugh is back at Michigan probably still is the favorite to win the Big Ten. I mean, I would say Michigan, Ohio State are neck and neck, probably, I would say. I don't know what, Ohio State's quarterback situation is going to be next year. So that is an interesting piece of it. But, Jim Harbaugh comes back and Michigan is looking at a three-peat of a Big Ten championship and looking at staring down a college football playoff again with a lot of opportunities. So that's where I look at it in terms of where Jim Harbaugh wants to be. You go back to Michigan, you're in a really, really good spot at making Michigan one of the top 3 programs and becoming one of, if not the best, Michigan coach of the modern era, of all time.